Hello and welcome to King 5 Business Insider. I'm Jennica Dalton.
And I'm Andrew Sauter. Hey Jennica, have you ever found yourself in a business transaction that could have been more successful if you were aware of their foreign culture?
All the time! Culturally rich countries have many strong traditions and beliefs different than our own, making business opportunities less successful due to a lack of understanding.
Japan, being culturally rich, is a powerful country that many wish to do business with. However, their unique cultural traditions define acceptable conduct during business transactions.
Being a culture based off traditions, let me tell you about one of their strongest traditions, gender roles. Gender roles are an ingrained concept in Japanese culture, a concept to be aware of in transactions and socialization. A poll done by the Japanese Times really shows just how ingrained these concepts are. As seen on your screen, 65% of males and 71% of females between the ages of 20 to 40 all agreed that women should be with their children rather than in the workplace. This poll also reveals the degree to which social conditions lock in these traditional ideas. When there is no possibility of change, old ideas and traditions will persist. Another recent poll done by the Japanese Business Federation showed that 60% of top leading companies were trying to promote women to positions of management, an important movement in achieving equality. It seems like the business leaders are attempting to achieve equality even if most employees don't agree. In addition to gender roles, seniority is important in transactions in the business culture. That is seen in the Japanese transaction called the ringi system. As seen by the diagram on your screen, the ringi system has an opposite flow to the top-down approach, starting at the lowest levels of management and working its way upward to seek approval. Many people are involved with this process before a decision is made. This process really shows that the Japanese culture values the approval of all involved. It is actually common for the Japanese to want to avoid the act of such contracts because they do not want any party to think that they are distrusted. One of the reasons behind this behavior is that the Japanese attach a high value to business relationships that are built on trust and timely manners. Why is time so important in the Japanese culture? It is because of the way they segment it. Their segmentation is a very meticulous manner, much different than the linear American and German segmentation. As seen by the diagram, the Japanese are more concerned with not necessarily how long something takes to happen, but with how the time is divided up into the interests of properness and courtesy. The Japanese like to know at all times where they stand and where they are at. This applies to both social and business situations. The mandatory 2-minute exchange of business cards between executives meeting for the first time is an excellent example of a time-segmented activity. We now go to Louis in the field to show an example of that exchange.
Exchange of business cards in Japanese culture is a key element to a formal greeting. Foreign newcomers are taught that when receiving Japanese person's business card, do not just stuff into your pocket without taking the time to read the card and the note person's title. Also, it is polite to make a comment that shows interest to the person. Japan is a country of rituals, respect, and etiquette. Whenever Japanese people meet for the first time, particularly in a business setting, they present business cards in a custom known as meshi kokan. The exchange of business cards involves 5 steps that must be followed. These are those steps. Hi, I'm Jen here to show how to present a business card. The highest person ranking gives out the business card first. The card must be given and received face down with 2 hands and slightly bow. The card should be kept and displayed for the remainder of interaction. and kept as immaculate as possible.
Thank you for that, Louis. To summarize, you can assume the Japanese will be very generous in their allocation of time. Your advice to always do the right thing at the right time. In Japan, forms and symbols are almost more important than content itself.
Thanks, Jen. Including the importance of Japanese form and symbols, did you know that there are numerous ways you can send symbols with your eating and drinking habits in Japanese culture? When conducting business over food and drinks, there are some important tips to remember. Using chopsticks properly is a strong indicator of overall etiquette. If you can't handle a chopstick, how are you supposed to handle more serious matters? Practice coordination with them. Avoid pointing your chopsticks at someone you're talking to. Do not wave chopsticks over food on the table. Don't point chopsticks at food you're interested in. Do not suck sauces off your chopsticks. Do not rub chopsticks together or play with them unnecessarily. Don't stab food with chopsticks. Never pass food with chopstick either. Doing so reminds Japanese of the ritual of passing cremated bones between chopsticks at funerals. Same rule applies for sticking your chopsticks vertically in a bowl of rice, another morbid symbol that could ruin somebody's meal. Now that you know proper etiquette with chopsticks, how would you conduct yourself in a meeting over drinks? First step, always introduce yourself to everyone. Secondly, never drink alone or be the first to drink. Always wait for the entire group to receive their drink. Third, wait for someone to offer a toast before you raise your glass. Make eye contact with the one nearest you as you raise your glass to acknowledge the toast, and angle your body towards whoever is giving the toast. The easiest way to say cheers in Japanese is with an enthusiastic "kanpai." The cheers often voiced with enthusiasm as glasses are raised. "Kanpai" translates to empty cup, the Western equivalent of bottoms up. You may hear "banzai" shouted at some point, but leave that for later. Traditionally, once dictated that people were expected to finish their cup of sake, which is rice wine, in one shot. That's why the cute cups are conveniently small. Back to you, Jen.
Now that we have covered some of the ingrained concepts and traditions in Japanese culture, let's take a closer look at personal appearance and communication.
A key element in Japanese business is ensuring adequate communication during negotiation. Japanese value relationship building and harmony, so avoid hard selling, pressure tactics, and any sort of conflict or confrontation. Saving face is paramount. Japanese value an indirect communication style and will avoid using "no" in answering questions. They tend to say "maybe" or "that would be difficult." When Japanese debate, they are not confrontational. They do their best to maintain harmony by trying to be empathetic and adjusting their logic to the opponent to see things their way.
Aside from negotiation, the Japanese base the outcome of transactions on verbal communication. We now go to Louis in the field to review some phrases to be aware of in the Japanese culture.
Hi, welcome to Nishiyama Japanese Garden. I am Angelo Sambrano. I'm here to talk about business phrases in Japanese culture. In Japanese phrases, you must greet them. For example, good morning, and you must say your full name, like I'm Angelo Sambrano, and your rank, and you must say proper goodbyes. For example, have a nice day. Back to you guys.
Thank you for that, Louis. Another important tactic in communication is actually two tactics combined: eye contact and personal space.
Japanese tend to favor indirect eye contact over direct eye contact. They may view direct eye contact as intimidating or threatening. Japanese usually use indirect eye contact when speaking with elders or superiors as a sign of respect. Personal space shows a sign of respect as well. The Japanese prefer standing at arm's length from one another. 2.5 to 3 feet is normal. When meeting with strangers, the distance is farther.
In public places like the subway or a market where personal space is limited, touching is more common. Otherwise, there's no touching between men and women, unless in a social situation where there's drinking involved.
But Jennica, you know what one topic we need to cover today is?
What, Andrew?
Appropriate business attire in Japanese culture.
Excellent question, Andrew, and I believe Louis has the answer. Let's return back to Louis in the field to see what he's come up with.
Business attire stresses conservative looks for men and women.
Japanese men typically wear dark-colored to medium-colored conservative business suits for work. Jackets, white dress shirts, and conservative ties are required. In doing business interaction, men should follow this guideline. Japanese women generally wear conservative, modest business suits, dresses, or blouses with skirts. They do not show much skin. Women business travelers should bring formal, dark-colored and neutral-colored clothing. Visitors who are invited to their host home should be prepared to remove their shoes at the door, so that they should wear clean, presentable socks or stockings.
Well, Andrew, that covers all of our main topics on how to successfully conduct business in a Japanese culture. To review, the Japanese hold a strong value in sharing time and approval, so don't rush business transactions and be sure to be attentive.
Also remember that the Japanese value respect as well, meaning be courteous during meals and follow proper etiquette, especially doing business with elders and seniors in companies.
Another way to show your respect is to ensure that you are dressed appropriately and know the direct and indirect communication for this culture.
Thank you for tuning into King 5 Business Insider. As always, direct all the questions to our Twitter at King 5 Business Insider to be answered in the following show. I'm Andrew Sauter.
And I'm Jennica Dalton. Have a great night, folks.
Welcome to another fantastic edition of Business Insider Twitter Time. Let's answer some questions from our viewing audience. At Peter Parker 76 writes, is there a customary introduction in Japanese business culture? Great question, Peter. The answer is the exchange of business cards is the Japanese equivalent of an introductory handshake. At Kingfisherman 12 writes, in the spirit of Japanese business, what are Japan's main exports? Nearly all Japan's exports are manufactured items, such as cars, electronic equipment, and televisions. Now for our last question of the day. At Diana Prince 00 writes, is women's jewelry appropriate to wear with business attire? Wonderful question, Diana. Yes, jewelry is allowed, but only modest earrings or a family pendant. That's all the questions we have this week. Thanks for tuning in for Business Insider Twitter Time.